Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Purchasing Oversight Committee. It is Thursday, March 16th at 1:01, and we will start the meeting. We will call it to order and make sure that we do have a quorum. So as I call your name, please let me know that you're here. Vice Chair of the committee, Commissioner Kelly Robinson.
Madam Chair, present.
Wonderful. ACA Director Stuart Stanley.
I'm present.
Okay. Director Perry.
I'm present.
And Latanya Ammons, Director of the Purchasing Committee.
Present.
Department. Wonderful. Seems like we have a quorum. Have I missed anybody? All right, we will move forward. Has everyone had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from January 19th, 2023?
Yes.
If so, are there any additions, deletions, or updates to be made to the meeting minutes? If none, then can I get a common consent to accept the meeting minutes as presented?
As stated.
Yes.
Meeting minutes stand approved. Our old business updates, the procurement department survey. I will turn the meeting over to you, Ms. Ammons, to give us an update on that.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Between the period January 9th and January 20th, I disseminated and opened up a procurement department survey. We previously talked about that, I believe, at our November meeting. It's not October. Approximately 15 questions. And the survey results came in, and I apologize, I do not have a nice, pretty pie chart. I realized that it was going to take a little more work. But just to give an update, 51 participants responded to the survey. The survey was sent out countywide and also to the Sheriff's Department for those who work with the procurement department. And just from a highlight or a reminder, like the first question is, please rate the level of satisfaction with purchasing in the last 12 months. Out of the 51 respondents, 5 said somewhat dissatisfied, 3 said very dissatisfied, and everyone else was satisfied and above. And so I will officially have a chart with the percentage and the numbers for next meeting. I apologize for having it this particular meeting, but wanted to let everybody know kind of where we stood. Under how would you rate the professionalism of the procurement staff? 1 needs improvement out of 51, and everyone else was good to exceptional. And that was kind of the spirit of most of the comments. Good, or the ratings good to exceptional, with a few persons who responded in areas that we need improvement. And there were a few questions such as what kind of training would you like to see from purchasing? And so we're going to delve into that as a department. One question was just please provide any comments for improvement. Mm-hmm. And most were definitely positive. I believe this is the first time a department survey procurement survey was disseminated across the county. And so this gives us a great benchmark as we move forward. So at the time of the ask of January, I have been here 11 months. And so I plan to do this annually so we can benchmark, where we are for opportunities for improvement.
Sounds good. Thank you for that update. And to that point, you don't know what you don't know unless you ask, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Procurement touches basically every department in the county, including those elected officials who utilize our services. So did you get any feedback? Did you send it to elected officials, or did you just only send it to the staff of the elected officials?
I believe elected officials were included. The email addresses were like all users. So that was encompassing of everyone.
Got you. Sounds good. I look forward to seeing the pie chart and all of the data actually broken down so we can kind of analyze it and see where we go from there. This helps us to also not only improve the operations, but helps us to see where we may need to improve some policy matters. in terms of that. So I think this is a good start. I'll open it up for any questions, suggestions, or comments in regards to the procurement department survey. Anyone? Being none, Ms. Amos, we look forward to the report in its entirety.
All right, thank you all so much.
We'll move on to the new business discussion items, and that is surplus sales. I know we've talked about this in the past. What do we do with them? How do we manage it? Do we sell it off, give it off? What do we do? So looking forward to what you want to tell us in regards to the surplus sales.
So we had some surplus sales. We most of the items, all of the items, I apologize, are with Parks and Recs.
Okay.
And I'm going to pull up just a Excel spreadsheet just to show the summary. So can everyone see the report?
Yes.
Okay, so this was our first stab under my administration as far as surplus sales in the department. And I can increase. All right. Here's a brief description of the items. There was a pool vac and a lift and a power wash, floor buffer. And as we see, the categories are internal to the system that's being used. It's not ours per se, it's how we run in the department, but the description is the item that we do have. The department, as you can see, is Parks and Recs. And then I guess for public record, the buyer is not someone from the county. It is someone in the public who has subscribed to the particular auction. You see the list of starting bids. So we started them out in totality $40, but again, you have a $5 bid, and you can see that we have sold, or for lack of better words, sold a total of $1,300 worth of items just from the Parks and Recs pool. And the bid, this report also shows, which comes out of Gov Deals, the number of bids for a particular item. And luckily, the more bids you have, the higher we can drive up the price for the auction sales. And with the particular the system, we can sell anything except people and live animals. So it was, it's kind of successful. It kind of runs itself. We just put it out there, and the individual buyer is required to come and pick up the item themselves. For these particular bids. Now we have items here in the procurement department that we will eventually put out in the surplus sales, and those will be supplies that we no longer use. V8 tapes, cassette tapes. We just don't have a need for that here in the county, but there may be a need around the country that someone is still using that particular technology and will need it. So we will place those items and come back. Per the, I believe the resolution for surplus sales is anything over 10,000, we're officially supposed to come to the board. So we're not at 10,000 yet, but I did want to bring this up to the PLC committee to show that we do have sales, and the funds are trickling in. And so now the question becomes, and I believe it was decided previously that the money goes back to the general fund versus the individual department, except for the sheriff's department, and the sheriff would receive his funds. And so,
okay, this is interesting. So this auction site, anyone has access to? Was it advertised on the Celebrate Douglas County website?
No, it was not. They have their own system, and that does bring up of advertising, but that does bring up an opportunity for us to expand.
Yes.
We can look into that as well, especially for those citizens of Douglas County, but they have the ability to buy items as well, and whether that's a link back to Gov Deals to facilitate. I see that there is room for improvement, and we can definitely post surplus sales and the links to kind of keep it housed in that one system.
Yes.
Okay.
But look, this is better than zero, right? So we,
It's better than zero. And to also for the public to know that the fee that GovDeal charges is passed on to the buyer and not the county.
right. So it's a plus plus for us all the way around. We get rid of the items; they're in hands of people who may use them, and we also get to recover some of the taxpayers' dollars. It goes back into the general fund to be used for later. Okay, sounds good. Are there any questions in regards to this asset report?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. No, you sort of addressed the point I wanted to drop home that it's almost like jobs and applications you always want to consider in-house first. I appreciate the resourcefulness of the website and GovDeals. I know they do what they do, but citizens, while it is their tax dollars and we are recouping them, I think that they would love to get some of these discounts as well, at least to even be aware that they exist. And so I would just want to highly emphasize that if you put something out there, that we also do our own internal promotion just to let people know.
Okay.
I think that tie-in that's important. That would be the one thing that I would really like to see the next time you do that, because I think that's important. That I mean, no different than the sheriff and his guns. People looking for auctions for that. These assets are important to small business here locally. To find something like that may be important. So for somebody coming across the river and getting stuff on a super discount, I think the citizens of Douglas County should have first consideration. That's just my thoughts, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
DCA Perry, you have the floor.
No, I really quickly just want to commend Director Ammons on getting this up, getting this started. Something we've been talking about since she came on board, and I think she was surprised that we hadn't done this in quite some time. And as a matter of fact, Director Ammons, do you remember the last time we've had?
It was a while ago. I can bring that back to the committee because the information is still out there on the website, meaning from an internal perspective, the last sales that were conducted through GovDeals. And there are other online auction sites that I would like to explore, in the future. But I believe it was, I don't want to misquote, but we have sold via GovDeals in the past.
Okay.
But it's been several years.
Right. So right now, it looks like it was a focus on Parks and Rec. Plans to move it over, open it up to other departments countywide.
Yes. Well, Parks and Recs was one of the first that came to us. It's open for everyone, and we can send out some internal communication to allow everyone. I know I spoke, but again, it was when I first started with the sheriff's department, and so we can definitely circle back. But it's open to everyone, and actually, it's the tool is so user friendly that people can departments can snap their own picture and just upload it in the tool, and then we here in procurement will just kind of approve it and make sure that the descriptions and the dotting the i's and crossing the t's are there. But it's definitely user friendly. Anyone can just snap a picture and upload it and post a sale.
Awesome. Yep, just great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion on that item, we'll move to the vendor self-service module.
Yes. So at this point, and I will stop sharing. So there's a module. Oh, let me start with one of the issues, and not an issue, but right now we are currently manually uploading vendor applications. We are manually adjusting email addresses when there are changes to a department, to a vendor, and in an effort to not make errors, right? Because we're human, and in an effort to make sure that we have like a chain of command as far as the information is concerned. New World does have a module where vendors can go on and via self-service just update their own information. Yes, we will have to approve it, and they will have to provide some documentation, but that is in a module. But what I also like is in this particular module, as we move Douglas County forward, vendors will be able to input their ACH information for electronic payments. We currently pay via a check. And so we are moving towards ACH payments, and they will be able to input their own routing number and account number versus an email application here, and then us manually putting in that particular information. So it is a great tool. And then lastly in the tool, vendors will be able to look at the status of an invoice or purchase order. And so they will have that ability electronically, the same way a lot of us do in our personal lives. We can actually go online and look and conduct business. And so I was bringing this to the committee just as a change in information. IT is on board. IT is going to fund the module, so it's not coming out of the procurement budget. So we already have a quote from New World, and just as an FYI, if a vendor says, "Oh, I received a letter. Is it valid? I received an email," because we don't have an email address for all vendors currently in the system, and so we're moving towards, of course, a non-paper communication with vendors. Wherever possible. And so and we've been pretty successful with the purchase orders, but as we move us forward, the next step will be ACH payments.
Okay, so I know I can't remember the date or the committee meeting where we talked about improving the procurement process overall, right? Mm-hmm. Actually having the software where vendors could actually basically do their whole application, certification, upload documents into the system. So I know we haven't gotten to that point yet, but this is a step towards that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
And when is IT looking to implement this?
I believe the requisition will go in this week when I talk to Alex. And so I'm going to give it a 3-month go live as far as just allowing New World to, as far as scheduling and testing of the particular system. So I'm going to project 3 months. And I think that's being generous.
Got you. So again, we are already using New World. This is just a module they already have that we have yet to tap into. So we're going to test this out, tap into it, and see how it goes from there. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you bring us back an update once you do go live and we start.
Yeah. Okay. I'll bring you up an update.
Wonderful. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments in regards to the vendor self-service module through New World?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. You may have, Director Amos, you may have said this. How many vendors roughly do we have active? Just roughly.
2,500.
That are active on an annualized basis.
Yes, and by defining of active is we in the last 3 years we have either sent them a check and or a PO in the last 3 years.
2,500 people.
And that includes, and also the vendors who we have not. So in other words, anyone can sign up to become a vendor,
yep.
but registering for a vendor does not guarantee that you will receive a check and or a purchase order. So we look at the dates as well as when the application was sent in.
Understood. Gotcha. So you're right. The bigger universe is everybody who's registered as a vendor. A subset of that are individuals who are actually active in some kind of way, PO or check as you call it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Related to that, how large is your staff?
My staff currently, as of today, is 4, including myself. I do have an open position right now that's been posted, and hopefully by the end of the year, we will be a department of 7.
Very good. Last question is, again, out of the 2,500, I know there's a target over time. We'll grow this like with anything, no different than our emails for celebratedouglas.com. How far do you, what's a reasonable goal? 25% conversion to get emails or 50%?
My goal is 100% for emails. So realistically, I'll say 90% for emails and also 90% for ACH payment. My goal is going forward that payments will be rendered via ACH and not an option for a check.
That's a good thing now.
I do. So again, we will, the goal of paperless means there's always going to be exceptions. So we're saying that there still will be room for us to just not going to turn off the cutting checks. I mean, people need to get their payments, right? We're going to pay our vendors, right?
That is correct. We will always pay our vendors. that's not the question. And yes, Douglas County, we do have policies where, at the last minute, vendors can come and select, pick up a check payment. Hopefully and prayerfully, those will be the exceptions to the rules, as far as needing a check at the last minute. But that option is never going to be turned off. It's just the ease of, instead of a vendor saying I need it, by Friday and the day is Wednesday, if it is cut overnight, I'm sorry, batched overnight, then it can show up in their account the next day or Friday morning to save them the gas to come up. And I know, and when I speak from previous experience, because I'm not in the finance department, previously in all the jobs that I've had, ACH payments were done every night. It wasn't done once a week. It was just the posting that finance completed. So you didn't have to wait till next week to get your money, which could also reduce the traffic or the need of needing to come here on a Monday if things are just systematically put into the system. But again, I'm not an expert in that particular area, but as we move and improve our processes, we may not need as many checks at the last minute that we currently need now.
Gotcha. So again, out of that 2,500, how many did you say that we've gotten so far, or you don't really know?
We've gotten so far as an email address or ACH?
Yeah, email. This, yeah, I'm just trying to
get a good 70% email.
Okay.
And that continues to improve because that was the initial list when we transferred last year in May from mailing purchase orders to emailing purchase orders. And so as we moved on, if we did not have an email address for a vendor, then we emailed the requester, and then the system, your accounts were updated. So it was a rolling process. So that 2,500 number was last year this time. I don't have a new number today. And since I instituted that change in May, an email address is required for every vendor application that has come through the door.
Gotcha. So roughly about 15,000. So okay, all right, you're good benchmark, good baseline. Got it. All right, you've answered my question, Madam Chair. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Amos. Can we kind of take a look also at? I know at the last doing business with or of Douglas County, we talked about possibly bringing on a day or setting up a day where the public could come in and get registered, those who would qualify for minority business enterprise, that the county, we take reciprocal, but we don't actually have our own. And we don't have anybody on staff that can actually walk someone through it. So, under this, since we're doing vendor self-service module, possibly, setting up a date where we could send out emails to vendors who may be able to be MBEs with, and with, being open to becoming certified for that.
Yes. David Good and I have been speaking, and we have already thrown out a few dates to pose to Chris as far as a workshop for the public, as far as becoming registered. So, because remember, a lot of people just weren't officially registered. And so we thought it would be best to serve the county where, we're going to have a workshop where you come in and we're going to walk you through it on a particular day. And then that kind of propels us to the next phase. And hopefully when the contract manager role is filled here in the department, then a lot of that focus will also be on MBE, WBE, DBE, and the actual registration and continue in the tracking of those particular contracts. But the first step is to make sure the citizens are definitely registered. And so David Good and I have been, we just talked this morning as far as, okay, trying to narrow down the date of the workshop, a weekend versus a weekday, and also looking for community partners.
Okay, well, I was right on time then. Didn't know that you guys had already started discussing that, but thank you for that. Just wanted to put that in since it was on our radar for vendor self-service module.
Yes.
So our next program item or agenda item is SPOS Program Manager RFP. So can you give us an update as to where you are in terms of that?
Yes, so the update for the SPLOS program manager, we are still, I have presented the county administrator, Dr. Corbin, with a draft of an RFP, and I'm waiting for his response as far as to go to post the RFP. So it's officially not ready today.
Okay. So am I under the impression that you took our last SPOS RFP and kind of tweaked it in order to serve what what our present need is today, or was it something that you all just decided you were going to totally redo on your own?
It will be a combination of what was there. So I started with what we did in 2016. And then adding some different parameters based upon how we're operating now in the county and looking at what we specifically need. And so a lot of times with RFP development, if we have questions on the back end, we try to address those in the RFP. And so for me, just thinking about some of the questions and how things are run, trying to address those in the RFP. Not going to address everything, but like monthly reporting is there. That's great. That is the monthly reporting. So the question is, is the monthly reporting sufficient? Well, yes, it's sufficient. So then we don't have to worry about that particular item on an RFP. But we want to, as we continue to move forward and enhance, we start with the basis, which was the one in 2016. They're doing a great job. But are there any areas of improvement? And so we're just kind of waiting and, just making sure that we have a great RFP to put out.
Okay. And so I'm assuming once Mr. Corbin takes a look at it, he will put his edits on it, and then you will bring it. Does it have to come back before this board, or are you planning just to send it normally?
Well, I'm at the will of the board. I can bring it back to the board for review. We can do that. Typically, I'll just post them. But yeah, okay.
And I'm not opposed to it. I don't know what Chairman Jones is liking would be. Of course, she's working with David Corbin, and so I personally wanted to lay eyes on it before you guys sent it. But not sure about the entire board, so just didn't know which way you were going to do it. But I'll open up the floor for any comments or suggestions or critiques in regards to the SPOS Program Manager RFP process. Vice Chair Robinson, Kelly Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, yeah, obviously I have a vested interest in seeing this go, being the third SPOS that I'll see, and perhaps the fourth. But that being said, the board has already given authorization to move forward, so I don't think there needs to be a step that comes back to the board to authorize you to put this in the air. The legislative matter has already been done. We've resolved that. I think the administration will get on agreement. If I recall, April 1st was supposed to be the date in which to be in the air. So I'm thinking, looking at the clock, and the last time we said that in the meeting minutes, that April was sort of our target. So I'm trusting you guys will work out your internal how you sign off on things. And to Madam Chair's point, sure, anybody who wants access to the document, it's not an issue. It's not a procedural issue. It's courtesy. But we got to get this in the air. And I'm back to, so in your mind, recognizing the sign off. So if it goes in the air on April 1st, what is the timeline in which you expect it back? That's my first question.
So I will, typically we can post a bid of this size 3 weeks to a month public posting. Okay. So even if we waited as late as May 1 to close it out, and 2 more weeks for evaluation with the evaluation team. So bringing it before the board. And again, this is just an estimated timeline, June, sorry, not July, June, to bring it for the board.
Right. So I'm going to go back to the April 1st. We're putting it in the air, so we'll be back in May. The reason I'm holding to the April 1st because the current SPOS ends when?
The current SPOS revenue, March.
Okay, so it is. And so you put it out there, it takes a month. So that's April to May. I guess it'll take 30 days for you to evaluate, all the internal things and bring it before this committee. So then that makes it April, all of May. And then you've got to go through the Board of Commissioners process, which could take 1 or 2 meetings, depends on how things work out, which means that's June. So that's 90 days, all things being in, relatively speaking. Legal, all that, just framing this. Just timing about expectations of where this is going to be key in allowing our program managers to ramp up. If the current team wins, then it's easier for them to add another line item, another set of team members. It's a totally different group that obviously becomes the incumbent. Then obviously there's a natural ramping up, 30, 60, 90 days. Is there an expectation inside the RFP of how long that would take, or that we're setting expectations? Because we do have a list of things. We are setting the public's expectations. So I'm trying to get a feel, so as I go into my town hall, we can set expectations and we can prepare for this. Because we're about to, we got an existing team, now you're about to double. You need time to, so I get this transaction, I get this one little piece check, but there's other organizations, other stakeholders here that need to prepare for that. Do you have an idea how long you think ramping is going to take? Did you put it in there, like what is your methodology for onboarding? How long would it take for the size of this particular county? I think that would be important to set their expectations.
I did not put in a methodology regarding the ramp up, because the ramp up will also depend on the targeted list of projects in the year that the projects are slated to begin. So if a car purchase is under SPLOST and we're doing that in May, there is no ramp up from the perspective of project management of ordering cars off of a statewide contract. That's simple, and we can do that, at any time. From a true project management perspective, because all of the items that are falling under SPLOST are considered a project. The project management of, let's say, the build of a library, is that year 1, 2, 3, or 4. So that will be dependent upon the list of projects. And so if some projects are shovel ready within the next 6 months, and if they need true project management, which typically will be the larger construction projects, then yes, they will be needed then. But if it's more of the smaller purchases on the list that can be procured through a statewide contract, then there really isn't a need for there's no ramping up in that particular perspective. There's a ramp up in the requirements from a monthly reporting perspective and the requirements of what's needed from them operationally day to day, but there's not a ramp up from the perspective of, okay, now we have to get in and figure it out, because we do have those projects. And so I have not seen the project list. I don't have the final project list. But I know that there's thought in the project list of what can go now, and then what is going to actually need some program assistance down the line. Purchasing a car, purchasing supplies under SPLOST, or even, like as we said, we have cooperative agreements, statewide agreements. We can purchase those without a program manager. Now, program management on
I got to stop there. Okay, I get it. I want to be short on time. But I don't want that right there is my point. You can't have projects independent of an overall program management. That's been disastrous for us. Program manager has to bond them. You're responsible for every dime, no matter if you do it or somebody else does it. It has to be accounted for. It has to be contained. And we've had experiences where, okay, staff is doing this, and now they're trying to reconcile the list, and it's like, they've got to be responsible for everything, regardless of who actually goes and procures per se. It's the oversight. And that's where I do not want that to get away. I've got to make that point. We've had that experience. We're doing that with Landmark. You got people over here doing these projects and doing all this, and you're trying to reconcile them. I'm trying to get a single view. And so I don't want that to be in isolation. And I just wanted to hear you. We don't have to belabor it, but to Madam Chair's point, we'll take a look at that. But that's important on, okay, what our expectations are of the program manager. I get how you see the world. You're procurement. You're part of it. But there's others that's oversight. I want a single view. You're thinking about just yours and how you would procure. I'm like, okay, no, I got that. But let's make sure we get everybody on the same page that SPOS program manager is responsible for everything in there. So I just wanted to make that point. I think I heard what I had to hear. I'll continue to push to make sure we get this in the air. We keep slipping. And I'm like, okay, guys, we're still trying to get work done. We can't let our internal processes keep us. I mean, yes, you're procuring, you're collecting taxes, right? Are we stacking it? But at some point, we got to get going. What we don't want to be is in third quarter and we're just now getting stuff done. That we're just starting. And so I'm looking for the schedule. Again, these people, vendors. I mean, I don't. Second question is, and I'll come to that, is the list is pretty much locked. They have enough information just through public record to size this. It may not be finalized, but they pretty much know the dollar amount. We can program it. They can spread it out. I get that. But that's the whole point, giving them enough knowledge so they can take like, okay, what is it going to really take for us to scale to oversee this? Right? So it's lining up. Is everybody talking? I know there's others that are listening to this. Are y'all all on the same page? That input is important in setting expectations. So the second question as it relates to the vendor that you plan on sending. So you're going to send this to what? The existing program manager that the board approved you're going to send out to those existing people?
No.
Respond?
No, I think it's previously stated the bid is going to go out to the public. The previous bid was for on-demand program managers, did not include SPLOST program management. So this is going to be an open bid for the public, i.e. including those who are on the list for program management and have transparency and competition.
The problem with that, I get it. We'll revisit the list. I'll take that up because again, one more time, we take too long. Our procurement, not you personally. The procurement historically takes too long. The whole point of having on demand is that we got to go. Right? If we didn't have on demand, for example, for the I would call the Spine Road as part of the Trails project, okay, look, we got to get some oversight on this stuff. We got to go now. We've got some contractual obligations. So let's go down the list, find somebody that's already been pre-qualified. So I get it. And I think we're just trying to align we appreciate the newness of your vision, but reconciling just certain things that the board has done that we thought is important. So I don't want to marginalize prior decisions, but there's some kind of way where they can coexist because there was some value in that. And so I'm going to hold to that because that was important because again, until it's proven otherwise, that was successful. That worked. And so there's some vested interest in that, but duly noted, you've answered the question. I have no problem, no objections per se with putting it out to everybody. I have no problem with open competition. But it's, again, more time, it's back to speed. You're making my point. It's about speed. Got it. No problem. And I'm sure we'll work through that process. So, again, we just got to get going. I just don't want to, we've learned. We had this with street lights. We had no oversight. We had things that went on in our 2016. We had things on 2002. 2002 was a disaster. We had no program oversight. So there's some historical experiences. Oh, got it. I got you, but this is important. We don't have that natural capacity internally for project management. It's great to talk about it academically and theoretically, but as an administration, we do not have that. So we're just saying, look, this is just giving ourselves assurance as a board for oversight to make sure this thing doesn't get away. It sounds good to know everybody's heart and minds is pure and intentional. And it's not a judgment, but at the same point, like, okay, guys, well, that's why you have insurance policies. That's why you have assurance to make sure that we got proper oversight. So, all right, you guys know this was coming. I was going to say this type of commentary, but I think you get my point. No sense in responding any further. I think you've heard me. Madam Chair, I yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Amos, while Commissioner Robinson was speaking, one of the things that I thought was very, very worthwhile that David Good did and the Atlas team was that they included DBE, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know if that was a part of the original RFP, but the fact that they were intentional about opening up to women and minority business owners in terms of getting these SPLOS projects led and out. Just want to see if that will be a part of the RFP. just so
Okay.
people can manage their expectations up front as to what we as a board deem, is important to us to make sure we spread, all of these, millions of dollars as we get these projects underway. So we want everybody to eat. We want open competition, right? And so you putting it out on BidNet, you including those who have worked on it before, but just seeing what comes back, And I personally am in favor of the 3-week period as opposed to the 4-week period, right? Because if you're serious about this and you put it out on BidNet, these people have bid before on SWAT projects and projects of this size, they're going to get you that information back, right? So it's a 3-week period. Let's get it in 3 weeks, and then you have 2 weeks to evaluate it and get it before the board, as opposed to trying to let it stay open a month. We're serious about this. We do need to move. There are projects that are of substantial size that we need whoever is the winning whoever gets the winning bid, they need to start ramping up on and doing some research on and bringing their people to the table. So I'm in favor of 3 weeks, okay? But you can poll the whole VOC to see where they are. That's my take on it as vice chair. Are there any other suggestions, thoughts, or questions around this from DCA Perry or ACA Stanley?
No, I just would like to add, that as far as the SPLOST list and the CIP, we've going through that process and trimming it down, making sure all of the cost estimates are right and exact and everything. So we're at a point now. I believe that that April 1st deadline that Dr. Corbin has set for us to roll things out is a good, safe deadline for us. I think we want to be fast, as the commissioner mentioned, but we want to be accurate as well. And I think we've had enough time to do both. So that April 1st deadline looks to be where we'll wind up. And it's been an interesting process. I emailed you, Director Ammons, just to lay eyes on the RFP as well. But other than that, no comments. I believe we're coming along just fine.
Thank you. Anything else on that topic? If not, we'll move on to the 2023 RFP updates. And I see we have quite an extensive list on here. I'm going to add one more that you probably didn't know was coming, Ms. Ammons. Yesterday I had my update on Punkintown, and we're needing to add dirt. A lot of dirt.
Add dirt to move it. I know I talked to you.
Okay, wonderful. Just going to make sure I put that on your radar. Go ahead.
List of 17 is in the final development or posted or awarded stage. And I'll go through the list. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 10 more that are already identified that if everyone had their way would go out today on my board. And so so when I talked to Gary yesterday about the Punkintown, okay, that makes 11. So in addition to this list. But for the public, we'll go through, I'll just go quickly. Gravel, asphalt, and concrete have all been awarded. And we've gone before the board. So when we say awarded, they've gone before the board. HVAC revitalization has gone before the board. And actually, the vendor has submitted all of his paperwork except 2 items to me. I talked to him about right before this call. And so I'm expecting to have all of his completed paperwork tomorrow. And by paperwork for the public, that includes a bid bond and includes certificates of insurance. His contract has already gone to legal for that final sign off, but he did sign his contract. And so there are just a lot of little steps behind the scenes before we just issue a purchase order. But again, HVAC revitalization is ready to go. The pavement markings and the difference between federal and local is just that is the funding source and different posting requirements because of the different funding sources. But those closed last week and are under evaluation. For bid 23-007, the remount of ambulance chases, we had no bid. The fire panel replacement as written was canceled. That one did go before the board, but there was just an adjustment where we're able to use a vendor off of the statewide contract to get just a panel fixed. Versus the bid, which would have been a full replacement of the entire system. So that was officially canceled. The burn building for the fire department that closes on the 23rd of March. We reposted the remount of the ambulance chases and changed the title, but again, no bid. Janitorial for the old courthouse. That bid closes April the 1st. And for the public, it was posted, everything was posted in the Douglas County Centennial. We have a mandatory walkthrough on Monday at 10 o'clock. I have listed here janitorial, 2 additional ones. They're in the final stage, and that will be for the tax, fleet, and property management building, and then a corners facility. So we're in the final stage of development. Countywide litter pickup posted this week, and it closes on the 30th of March. Patching, milling, and resurfacing will post tomorrow. Solid waste and transportation disposal services, I posted this morning. And fire station number 11, I received the final documents from the engineering. And so if I don't post it tomorrow, along with patching, milling, and resurfacing, I will post it on Monday. And those are the current ones that I have a number assigned to. And again, I mentioned about 10 more that are upcoming for this year. And for the public, we can change. We have the Board of Commissioners has a right to change their mind or direction. But in full transparency, there will be a corner facility later on this year in 2023. We plan to post an E911 facility. The grants department has asked for an on-demand grant writer because Jill is asked to write grants, and she's only one person, so she has asked me to post that. I will post a new one for the armored car services, and that's your Brinks that comes and picks up your money. The landfill needs a transfer station. We have county auditors to do our annual audits. We will use the previous one that was brought before the board, Malden and Jenkins for 2022, but I will post for a new auditor later on this year. An underwriter is on the list, and then janitorial services for the courthouse. That as well later on this year. The dirt for Pumpkin Town for Commissioner Carthen for the park because of that change, and we have to relocate the homeless people that was discussed at the BOC meeting. That bid has to go out. We have a interesting public-private grant through, and Jill, I forgot which agency, but there's a portion that will be funded via the grant that we have to post. It's in conjunction with Douglas County Water and Sewer. So I have to post that bid. And later on this year, one for natural gas. So I think those were the last bids on the list that may come out later on this year. Again, I don't want the public to think, oh, you said, because we do have the right to make those adjustments. But that's my list so far as defined by March 16th.
Got it. So back to the dirt. If you could send that out tomorrow or Monday, that would be wonderful.
It's not a problem. No.
It's a bit easy, right? Okay.
Yes.
But I really do have a question in regards to those RFPs that we're sending out. 23-014, that's the countywide litter pickup.
Yes.
We have had that done before, right? I know that was top of the line for Madam Chair. She wanted the county to be clean. So someone did get that contract, right? Do we know what the status was of that? The job that they did, what, you know.
Frederick,
I can speak to that, and it was we've done before in the past like a 3-month contract that allowed a company that not necessarily didn't go out for bid, but one that was identified to come in and do some areas that were particularly troublesome. Riverside Drive, some of Fairburn, those areas that were, and some intersections that had a lot of trash buildup on. That was the same thing that we did this past in 2022. There was
Oh, okay.
a 3-month contract that was extended to a company, and so we wanted to make sure that we did a full open bid this time. So that's what we're going through right now.
Got you. I got you. So we kind of learned from those what would be best in this RFP and what we're looking for.
Absolutely, and we know 3 months is just not enough. So this has to be an ongoing effort. So that's what we're trying to get into right now, is have an annual trash pickup versus just being reactive to kind of complaints and things of that nature about troublesome areas. So
Right.
yeah.
Thank you for that. And this is, is one of the things that, majority of people who live here, we see it, right? Because we see it on a daily basis. And, the one thing that we could do, right, is to have drivable roads and no trash on our way home, right? If we could at least do that, right, as taxpayers, right, and have a safe community, I think everything else we will give grace on to fix. So I'm looking forward to that. And then my second one was the remount of the ambulance body on the new chassis. Is there a reason why we didn't get any bids for that once we put it out and renamed it? One, is this part of SPLOST? Because I know this is, under the fire EMS, but two, what could have been the hindrance for this?
So one, I'm not sure if it was SPLOST funded, and that I am developing a form. So when people come to procurement and even RFP, that's one of the questions, because different funding sources require different requirements as far as how to bid and what to place on the bid. Yes. So I'm not sure if this was SPLOST. Sometimes it is in the scope of what's needed. It's not clear. Then either people ask a question or they pass us by. And so that could be some of the issue. And so I know that Chief Farmer said that she was just going to reach out to particular vendors, and some may not even be registered as far as on BidNet on the state website. And so she's going to reach out to them individually and trying to get some quotes.
And try to get some quotes. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And I think that's it for me. I just had those couple of questions. I'll open the floor for any dialogue. Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, quickly, I'm just going to reinforce my prior point about programs. I've heard a couple of projects on there that perhaps are part of SPLOST 2022, like the coroner, like the transfer station. And so think about it. We're going to put this up in the air. We're going to have this vendor selected. The program manager who's responsible for overseeing staff members who have to be in these multiple meetings. We want a centralized delivery mechanism. And it's not aligned. This is my point. You got two major construction. They're going before you even got a team in place. The funding mechanism is not in place. But I'm okay with that, to put the RFP out there. Got it. But this is my point, right? So you can't be in isolation. I mean, the right and the left have to be aligned to say, okay, guys, those are major projects. Now, I get 911, it has its own funding mechanism per se, but it still could be part of, just like we have multiple funding sources within a particular project, it still somebody has to oversee this. My point is staff, y'all are stressed. You're having to keep all of this. So you're having a single team, y'all coming together one time, y'all all get the feed on what's going on, and you'll get align everything. When you have these disparate teams, you got this building over here, got DDS over here, I got this over here, you got the program manager doing this. That's a lot of stress on people's time and the capacity to do this. And then you got an existing SPLOST. You got a rampant new SPLOST. That was just my point. You made my point. That we're putting stuff up before we got the team and the funding in place. My point. All right, so I'm just driving home that point. I'll let y'all pause on that for a second. And again, I mean, it's going to be on y'all. It'll be indigestion. I get it. Again, we're just trying to, we can be more efficient. We talk about efficiency, but do our plans really holistically line up across the whole county? We got certain pockets like you that are doing excellent efficiency. But I'm trying to ensure that we all are becoming efficiency. We all can respect the process and what it means to deliver university, to have a single view of everything. So again, this is important. You guys are doing day-to-day delivery of services. This is on top of. This is on top of your budget of what, the 200 million all in. Now you can put this on top of it. And that's all I'm trying to say is that let's make sure we got proper oversight and have somebody else be responsible for keeping up with this. Now y'all keep up with this. My directors are busy. You guys are busy. Right? That's why you have to have somebody dedicated to take care of that chunk of work, that body work, ensure it comes in, we're faithful over that tax dollar. Handle that. Y'all got to handle the rest. But let them be responsible for that. And that's just my point. It takes pressure off, it ensures proper alignment. We don't have redundant committees and redundant meetings and stuff. You guys can all get in the room at one time and see this big block of work for this current next 4 to 5, 6 years of programming of initiatives. So I just wanted to drive home that point. Now, look at what you just said. I'm like, well, that's my point. And think about the impact that will be. We're in play, but I'm not suggesting to stop otherwise, but something you should consider, like, that's why we need to get going on the program manager. You're going to start projects before even that is even started and using that funding mechanism. Don't you think we should have somebody in play? No, we see that we need to be more accelerated and see why we want to have on demand so we can go. We need to make quick decisions. We're making decisions independently, siloed from the rest of the system. That's all I want to make on my point. And I'm going to leave it at that. Madam Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts in regards to this RFQ list? If there are any others, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is miscellaneous. And so I do note that we have some of our staff members on here. I just wanted to allow the floor to be open to them. If there's anyone that wants to bring something to our attention here in the procurement meeting, if there are any other thoughts or questions in regards to matters that need to be brought before the committee. All right, so y'all just showed up to see what we were doing. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
I hope this has been informative for you. If there are no further matters to come before the Procurement and Purchasing Oversight Committee, this meeting stands. Oh, Vice Chair Robinson, yes, you have the floor.
I was just waiting for you to finish. I didn't mean to. No, but for those 3 projects that were listed, I do want an action item to be taken. It says, guys, make sure y'all align that with our program management. That means to transfer and at least the corner and 911. If you're going to market, Madam ACA, Mr. DCA, you guys make sure that's aligned now, knowing that you got something that's already in play, right? And so making sure it follows a standard and even how you move forward. It's the very thing we're going with Landmark right now. I looked Jill in her eye in the hallway. And I said, now how you catching up to the power work? We're getting there. You're trying to do new stuff. You're trying to, what did y'all do before? And how do we line up? And how did they get started? And this is the same standard in which we deliver projects and do the monthly reporting. It's, make that note, please. I'm not going to let that go. I wasn't just talking. Don't let that get away. And so we'll take this offline to ensure that's lined up. That's all I wanted to say, Madam. Did you get the guys? ACA, Mr. DCA, you get that?
I can't hear
those 3 projects?
Yes, sir. We're on it.
All right.
Madam ACA is on the line as well, so we hear you loud and clear.
All right. Madam Chair, thank you for giving me the floor. I yield back.
No problem. No problem. Continuity is key in order for us to bring the type of services and to fulfill the commitment that the taxpayers gave us when they renewed the 2022 SPLOST. So we got to do what we got to do. So line it up and let's make it happen. If there are no further items to come before this committee, this meeting is adjourned at 1:59 p.m. Thank you, everyone.